Hello everyone, I'm Tracy and thank you for tuning in today. So in today's video, I'm going to go into the history and the spiritual history, spiritual significance of the land of Lahaina. So in my second fires video, I went into a little bit about how Lahaina was the ancient capital of the Hawaiian kingdom. In 1805, King Kamehameha made it the capital for 50 years until it was moved to Oahu in Honolulu. What made me want to do this video, and I put this together really fast because I was inspired by this article, and my mother-in-law sent this to me. It was printed in the Carroll County Times, Monday, October 2nd, and it's about, I'll show it to you, it's about a area that was not burned. Only 2 of the 104 houses in this area were burned. And the reason that is significant is this area, this community, was set aside for the native Hawaiians. So you have to be at least half native Hawaiian to get a lease in this area. Now you could get, if you are approved, you can get a lease for 99 years for $1. So it's a very coveted area to live if you do have at least 50% Hawaiian blood. Now, if you're not as familiar with the people of Hawaii, there's not a lot of full-blooded Hawaiians left. In my years of living there, I've never met a full-blooded Hawaiian. The most I've ever met was someone who was half Hawaiian, and even that is rare. So I just wanted to make that clear. So this area is called Le'ali'i, and the name is very significant. I'll go into it a little bit in a little bit. So in 1921, Congress passed a program that gave Hawaii's indigenous people land to live on, or so-called homestead communities. So in this particular homestead community called Le'ali'i, there were 104 homes, and only 2 were burnt. And it goes into this man, Sean Sarabay. He goes into, how he helped save some of these homes. According to him, he had water in the hose, and he was able to do things to save some of the homes. So I know there's a lot of questions and people disagree, like there was water in the city, there wasn't. It seems like in some areas there were, and some areas they weren't, because there's another article she sent of a landowner in Kula who did not have water. The water coming out of the hose was a trickle. So I think it depended on where you were. But according to this article, he was able to use water, and he knocked down a fence belonging to Archie Kalepa, who was a well-known surfer, lifeguard, Polynesian voyager, and proponent of traditional Hawaiian canoe surfing. So Archie Kalepa is a pretty well-known figure in Lahaina. So his home was in this area and was saved. And so I'll go into the name of Le'ali'i. I'll put a picture of a lei. I'm sure most of you guys know what a lei is. It's a circle of flowers you wear around your neck, and ali'i is what the Hawaiians called their royalty. So a lei, royalty. So in this, it's explaining how they feel like the ali'i were in a spiritual way, in a way that's not exactly understood by like the physical world. It was like a protection that was surrounding this area, that protected this area from the fire, because it should have been a lot worse in this area. So it made me want to look into the spiritual significance of this land. And in my second video, I went into how significant the town of Lahaina is to the native Hawaiians. So in Lahaina, there's a well-known cemetery called the Waine'e Cemetery, and a lot of the Hawaiian ali'i are buried there. And I'll go over some of the ones that are. And my understanding is this area did get burned by the fire. So the structures around this area, my understanding is they're burnt down. I don't know anything about the tombs, because there is a chief whose tomb is there, so I'm assuming that means above ground. And I don't know what happened to that tomb, but maybe in time we will find out. So a couple of the significant ali'i buried in the cemetery is the most well known is Queen Keopuolani, and she was the highest royalty by virtue of bloodlines in Hawaii. She was born in Wailuku in 1780, and she was the first Hawaiian baptized as a Protestant, and she was a wife of King Kamehameha I. So, and she was a mother of King Kamehameha II and III, so she was a pretty high-ranking ali'i. Now, King Kamehameha I, which I thought was interesting, his bones or his remains are unknown. Like the majority of people don't know where it is, and I'll go into why that was when I talk about another royal. Another royal buried here is King Kaumuali'i. He was the last king of Kauai. So before King Kamehameha united the Hawaiian kingdom, different islands had their own, kings and queens. So this man was the last king of Kauai. He was the only king that King Kamehameha didn't take with force. I think he agreed to join the Hawaiian kingdom. Okay, another very significant figure buried here is the chief Ulu Mahehe Ho'opili, which is what the highway is named after. He was a general and King Kamehameha's the first closest friend. He married two of King of Kamehameha's queens, which was one of them was Queen Kalakaua, which is a very well-known name if you're in Oahu. Kalakaua Boulevard goes through Waikiki. And he was the governor of Maui from 1823 until his death. Another royal buried there is the wife of Ho'opili is also buried there. And she donated 1,000 acres of land to start the Lahaina Luna School, which is a high school there that's still there. Okay, another queen that's buried there is Kei Kauonohi, one of the 5 queens of King Kamehameha II. She was born in Lahaina in 1805, served as governor of Kauai from 1842 to 1844. Another royal buried there is High Chiefess Kuini Liliha, so daughter of King Kahekili, daughter of Ho'opili. So Liliha is also a very well-known name. Liliha Bakery and Liliha Boulevard are very well-known areas on Oahu. And this King Kahekili is, the Kahekili Highway is a well-known highway. I lived off of it when I lived on Oahu. So there are a number of, also Princess Nahi'ena is buried there. She's the sister of King Kamehameha II and III. So she was the daughter of King Kamehameha I. There's also a lot of missionary children are buried there, and Reverend Richards, which I guess was a very well-respected figure at this time when the Christian missionaries came to Hawaii. And I looked into if King Kamehameha I was buried at the cemetery, because that would be very significant. He was the first, king of the United Hawaiian Kingdom. But interestingly, he told his chief, Ho'opili, who was his general, King Kamehameha told him to not let anyone know where his bones were, because he didn't want them to be desecrated the way previous ali'i were. So till this day, no one knows where King Kamehameha I's bones are. But there's a good chance it's somewhere on the island of Maui. I would assume it is, and possibly in the area of Lahaina, because that was the capital that he ruled from. But I can't confirm that. So this brings up a kind of an interesting take on this tragedy, because this land was so significant to the ancient Hawaiians, and the fact that there is this sign of divine intervention, which I believe in. I've studied other, incidences in history where divine intervention was claimed to have been very instrumental in battles and things like that. But I mean, I do think there's a good chance that the fact that this land of Lahaina was so significant and had such a rich history of spirituality, and it was considered sacred land to the native Hawaiians. So it makes this tragedy just so much worse, right? And I don't know what's going to happen to the remains of the ali'i that were in this cemetery. I really hope they are preserved. I have not found any information about what they're going to do with this cemetery, but there is a very long history in Hawaii of cemeteries being redeveloped and turned into something else. I did want to bring up a story. When I was growing up, there was a story of this drive-in, the Wailai Drive-In, which is in the Kahala area on Oahu. It was a cemetery and they built a drive-in over it, and there's so many reports, and I saw it in the newspapers and everything, that it was haunted. Like the bathroom, especially the women's bathroom, was haunted. So a lot of people would go in there and see a ghost, a woman with no face. And the same experience would happen to people over and over again, and eventually people were just too afraid to go there and it closed down. But there is a long history in Hawaii of burial grounds being built over and those lands being haunted by the spirits of the past. So I did want to bring the story up. I thought it was a different take on what happened, and I think it's a positive look, and this idea that the Hawaiians of the past are in their way looking over the land and trying to preserve what they can in their own special way, I thought was a nice idea to explore and to share with you guys. So that's going to do it for today. If you guys know anything about the native Hawaiians buried there, because there are a number of them, or know what happened to this land and what happened to the tomb of Ho'opili, the general, because it says here he's buried in a royal tomb enclosed in iron bars, invisible from the street in the cemetery entrance. So that implies that he was buried above ground in a tomb. So yeah, if you have any information about what happened to that I would be interested to know. So share it in the comments below, and I will see you guys all soon. Bye.